Good morning and welcome to an absolutely gorgeous morning here in beautiful South Africa. We are in the Sabi Sands Private Game Reserve, more specifically on Djuma Private Game Reserve and Chitwa Private Game Reserve this morning. My name is Brent Leo Smith. I have VM, aka the Wildebeest, on camera with me, and we are searching for leopards. Now, quite a lot has been happening overnight, and well done to Puma, the only person who seemed to spot Hukumuri moving across the dam wall last night. Tristan's on the tracks. There we go. He's still got tracks heading directly east on Central, and that is a bit worrying. For those of you who know, there's been quite a shift in leopard dynamics at the moment, and we think Kalamba, Thandi's cub, could still be alive. Taylor found tracks yesterday, and at the moment Hukumuri's tracks are heading straight in that direction to where those last tracks of the little cub and Thandi were. So Tristan and I are combining our considerable talents to try see what's going on in that area this morning, and Steve is heading off to Chitwa to probably try catch up with Tingana. Now, Tristan and I are desperate to find out if Kalamba is alive, what's going on, is Hukumuri putting pressure. It is a soap opera all in itself happening right here in the Sabi Sands. Now remember, this is 100% live, and you are able to send us questions using the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or just pop it on whichever feed you might be watching on. Now, I'm talking about my partner in tracking this morning, Tristan, so let's go see how his tracking of Hukumuri is going.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to a beautiful day in the Sabi Sands. And as Brent said, yes, we are tracking leopards. In fact, we've already just found a leopard track, so we were just looking around. We're not on Hukumuri's track, so most definitely not for him. It's difficult to see, but they're in the middle of the spotlight. Sorry, Craig, it's my fault. I'm not shining very nicely, am I? But there you can see them, just where the middle of the sort of spotlight is. You can see those three lobes and the four little toes going forward. These are far too small for Hukumuri, these tracks. So I think maybe, just maybe, they could be either Thandi's tracks or they're that young male. There's one of the two of them, but they definitely do not look like Hukumuri's or any of our bigger males that we have in this area. Now, as Brent mentioned, my name is Tristan, and on camera I've got a Craig, and so we are going to hopefully be having a epic mornings, which means that I want to hear from all of you, and thank you to some of you that already let us know that there was a leopard that crossed the dam wall, which would be this leopard, because these are the tracks that we found already from our camp all the way down over the dam wall and this side. So if the rest of you want to get hold of us, remember hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or YouTube chat. So we're going to try and kind of see where these tracks go. It's going to be interesting, and that leopard walked over the dam wall 6 hours ago apparently, which is a very, very, very long time in sort of the bush period, and this leopard could be miles away by now. But we're going to try and just see if maybe, just maybe, it found somewhere to lie up, or it had a situation where maybe it hunted or something like that just allowed it to kind of sit. Now what I'm trying to do is, as I'm driving, I'm just trying to double check that we're still on the tracks, particularly when we get to a junction where you've got roads splitting off. It's important to double check at those situations, because often a leopard will take a road and kind of cut off, and so it's important just to kind of double check and see what's going on. So I'm just checking now at this junction here. Right, now the tracks seem to carry on here, going straight, so I'm going to keep on these tracks and keep following and see where they go. While we do that, let's send you across to Brent, who's found a spotted creature, but not the one we're looking for.
Well, it's a spotted creature. It's obviously had a busy night. He's now decided to have a little lie down in a puddle. A quick cool down. I was almost wondering if this hyena might have hidden some elephant meat in here, but it doesn't look like it. It's a skinny hyena as well, unlike the majority of the hyenas around at the moment. Now, the reason I just popped across the Mawati quickly is we heard some go-away bird alarm calls. Now, normally a go-away bird is alarming at most of the time other birds, but they do alarm at leopards occasionally, and there was just something in that go-away bird's calls that made me just want to have a quick check here. And I just want to see, we've got the hyena in the tracks here, but I just want to see if there's any leopard tracks as well. Because that hyenas will often track leopards, but it doesn't look like it. It doesn't mean the leopard didn't walk here, it just didn't walk in the road. There's one more little water hole up ahead. I just want to have a quick look. And then we're going to head back down to Twin Dams and carry on our planned route. But that's the thing about being on a live safari, is your plan can change in a split second, in an instant. You could hear something, smell something, see something that leads you in a completely different direction. So I just wanted to check if a leopard possibly didn't come to have a drink here. What tracks are those there, VM, on your side? Okay. Let's check a little bit further and we're going to turn around. Okay. Don't see anything. Could have been an eagle. Well, yesterday, Kev, we didn't actually have Hukumuri and Hasana together. We had Hasana and Tingana. Yes, they went their separate ways. Hasana went east, and Tingana stayed around Chitwa. We got a message from Ali this morning that she had his tracks in between the rooms last night when she was taking her guests to bed. So yes, they are all good. Hukumuri came in from the west. Taylor found him around Treehouse Dam, and then from Treehouse Dam he's done a massive walk around across the dam wall and is now somewhere on Djuma, or he could have even gone north into Buffelshoek, but we will find out as we keep figuring out all the action from last night from the footprints. So that's why I love going out early in the morning, and you jump onto these tracks when they're fresh as daisies. Well, Hukumuri's not so fresh. He was seen crossing the dam by Puma at about 6 hours ago, so around midnight-ish, somewhere there. Okay, we go. Tristan's still on the tracks of a female leopard, still heading east down central. So Tristan's actually parallel to us here. So we're going to get back on our original plan, which is to head down Twin Dams and then up our southern boundary and then along the eastern boundary. Okay, hold on, bumpity bump. I think we're going to check the Mawati quickly. So while we drive down the dry riverbed, let's go see how Tristan's tracking's going.
Well, we're still doing a good, Brent. We've still got our leopard track still going on central, just straight east, moving towards now we're heading towards almost Drakensberg side. So whether this leopard is still on Djuma, I'm not quite sure. But the more we're traveling east, the more sure I am that these are Thandi's tracks that we are following at the moment, which is interesting because the fact that she's happy to have come from Djuma, if she was the one involved with that fight with Shadulu, it hasn't deterred her much from coming in this direction. So far, no sign of any sort of cub tracks with this particular track that we're following. And it's not to say that we won't find one at some point. We just got to keep kind of checking as we go, and you never know, maybe there's going to be a reunion somewhere where Taylor had tracks yesterday Brent and I thought that maybe this little one was gone, but it seems as though there might be evidence to suggest otherwise. We want to just double check and make sure that we really put a lot of effort into it today, just to confirm. And like I was saying to myself, well, I was actually thinking it and said it to somebody last night, that I'd be very happy to be proved wrong in this situation. I don't want to see that little cub gone either, so I'll be very, very happy if it is still with us. But she's still walking on the road here, so let's see how we go. James, I don't know. I mean, it depends on what Shadulu's getting from the other side. So it doesn't seem like she's really having to worry too much from Tiani or any of the other leopards on the sort of western side of her. So she might be very comfortable in her territory. She might decide that she's got more than enough in the form of Arethusa, Arethusa Private, some Mambili, a bit of Elephant Plains, and then all the way, into Djuma itself. It might be as much as she's kind of willing to try and risk for now. It depends. She might start pushing, and she might decide to start kind of moving and trying to get into this area. But I think if there was this fight between her and Thandi, I'm pretty sure we're going to end up in a situation where it's going to be kind of, now the sort of line has been drawn, and that's going to be the kind of boundary for both females. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, it's difficult to say, and at the moment with leopards, who knows? Everything is so upside down, it's almost impossible to tell what's actually going on half the time, and so many different players in the game these days that it's really, really not easy. Now it looks like these tracks are no longer on the road anymore, which is interesting. So, Justin, it is exactly like Game of Thrones with the leopards at the moment. It's just a complete drama that we've got, and all of them are sort of embroiled in it, and it's just pretty difficult actually to follow what's happening. And there's all these kind of new sort of leopards that are arriving, and there's old ones that are fighting with the young ones, and it's all just a bit chaotic at the moment. And so hopefully everything's going to settle down at some point soon. The trucks are back on the road, which is good, and we're going to get a situation where we're going to get a little bit more of a kind of situation where everything is kind of a little more settled like it was in the times of Kruger. As much as it's nice to see new leopard, and it's nice to have this excitement in terms of you never know who you're actually tracking, it is a little on the kind of difficult side from a point of view of stability of cubs and those kind of things. And so hopefully we're going to get a situation where everything kind of settles. There's an Impala over there that looks as though there has not been a leopard in this area. Don't worry, Craig, I'm going to go around the corner because that's where I think we're heading with these tracks. So should get a better view of this Impala pretty shortly. So, Carol, in terms of how many leopard cubs are in the area at the moment, we have 4 cubs that we know of. So it's Shadow with 1. So there's our Impala that looks all together very relaxed, not like a leopard's just walked here. So I think this leopard passed a while ago. But Kuchava's got 1, Inkanyeni 1, Shadow 1, Thandi 1. So that's the only cubs that I know of. Oh, sorry, naughty Tristan, slap on the wrist. So Bui is also got 2, so she's also around. So there's her, and then in the west, Insele has a cub. Moya has lost her cubs, as far as I know. Salala Pride took care of the last one, I believe. And then there's the female on Biffel's Hook with 2 cubs as well that was seen yesterday. That's it. I think that's the only cubs that are in the area at the moment. I don't think, well, we know Tiani and Shadulu don't have, and they're the only other females, really. It's crazy to think that at one point we had so many females, and now we're kind of scratching our heads a little bit with females. But it'll all settle down again, and you'll find everybody will kind of populate, and we'll get a balance coming out once again. That's what our Impala thinks of a balanced leopard situation, is kind of just going to the toilet. It's like, why do you want to discuss leopards while you're looking at me? I suppose I would also be like that if I was going to get eaten by a leopard on a day-to-day basis. I'd also not be very thrilled about chatting about them. Anyway, we're going to try and see where these tracks go. I don't see them coming this side. So while I have a look and sort of check in with Brent in the Mawati, see what he's up to. Hopefully there won't be any gremlins that side.
We're just checking the Mawati now very carefully because it's a nice easy place to see tracks, but we're nearly done with the Mawati. No tracks have appeared just yet, so So we're just in the last sort of little bit of the Mawati now, below Twin Dams, and it means that most of the leopards must be in the north and in the east, if we've got no tracks coming across here. There's always a chance that Shaduli might sneak in the far west, but we'll have a look there a little bit later. Now Steve is out and about, but unfortunately he's fighting some gremlins at the moment. So he was heading towards Chitwa to see what Tingana might have got up to overnight. Oh, hold on. Someone tried to get stuck here. There we go. Now, female leopards will mark territory when they have a cub, just not as frequently, and patrol their boundaries as much as they do when they don't have a cub. So yes, they will. But we are now done in the Mawati. There are no tracks, unfortunately. So even though we don't find any tracks, that is not necessarily a negative thing. It actually just narrows down our search parameters. Oh, excuse me. Okay. We're going to head now towards Cheetah Cut Line and patrol that. So Tristan's working in the center. We're working outside Tristan around, and we will slowly decrease our circles till we're working in a much smaller area, and hopefully that increases our chances of finding these leopards. Now, leopards can't stay in one spot, Jeffrey, because they wouldn't find enough food. So they will stay in their territory, but their territory in this area is around 2,000 hectares, or 1,500 to 2,000 hectares. So, which is around 4 to 5,000 acres, depending. They'll stay within that area, but they won't wander too far. Okay, let's have a look here. So I'm just listening to Tristan's still on the tracks. He's just over here, and just figuring out where they're going once they've left the road now. Now, Hasana might pop up anywhere in this area as well. That's where we left him crossing this road last night. Now, we are busy looking for leopards, but of course there are other spotted cats that occur in the Sabi Sands, namely cheetah. Eduardo, we haven't seen cheetah for so long. The density of cheetah in this area is not that high. The two males that are dominant over this area, they have a home range of over 120,000 acres. So very big, they move a lot, and the females are semi-nomadic, so they can appear anywhere. So we just haven't seen that because they haven't been around, because we would see their tracks. Now, in this part of South Africa, the cheetah tend to prefer gabbro soils, which are slightly more open. The grasslands are slightly more open, so often a better chance of cheetah a little bit further to the north of us and to the east of us. However, we are in prime leopard country, and lion country for that matter. I don't know if Tristan mentioned that the Nkahumas killed a kudu bull last night, but unfortunately to the west of our boundary, so they're probably not going to be across on Djuma today. Maybe tomorrow they might come back. Okay, Now, I'm going to concentrate on making sure nothing's crossed this road to the east. While we do that, let's go see how Tristan's tracking of that female is going.
Well, we've lost the tracks now, so I don't know where she disappeared to from that junction. I can't find them going south or north, and nothing seems to be crossing eastwards. I'm hoping Brent will just check Chitwa line carefully in case she just went straight across the road and I just missed where she went. I'll try and go back to exactly where the tracks are, but I have a funny feeling maybe she cut into the block. If it is Thandi and it is, you know, the cub is around, because this is where sort of Taylor and Rex had tracks yesterday around this sort of pan. So I'm just taking a sort of leap of faith and driving a little further than away from the tracks than I would want to normally, but it's just to double check that she doesn't come out at this pan, because maybe she went to go and meet up, if the cub is still here, to go and meet up with the cub and kind of then sit down and chill in that area. So that's what we're kind of hoping for at the moment. It's so dense and so thick here, we're going to have to rely on a bit of luck for her just to either be somewhere where another animal spots them and alarm calls, or for us to have them quite close to the road or in a tree or something where they're going to be a lot more visible than what we currently have now. Because so I don't know. Also, these tracks, given how far, well, how long ago a leopard was seen on the dam wall, and given that it is, you know, it could be her that walked all this way. 6 hours is a very long time, and the tracks that we followed didn't look like they stopped once on that road, so it's possible that they've just kind of walked all the way through. Katie, possible, but highly doubted that it's Kuchava and the cub up here. It would be the first time I've seen her in this area. Even when she was mating with Tingana, they never came this way. They went through the central part of Djuma, from Twin Dams northwards towards Chelapan and then towards Philemon's Dip and then back south again. So I mean, it's possible. Anything's possible at the moment, but doubt it. Very highly doubt it. Also, the size of the cub track. I was looking at some screenshots of Taylor yesterday with her hand next to the cub track, and that cub track is for a fairly big cub now, and it's not a new one, which is Kuchava's will be much smaller than Thandi's at this stage, and so it looks like the right size for Kalamba. Now, I don't see anything here. You know what, Craig? Let's go back to the last tracks. Right. I'm going to go back to the last tracks just to double check, because they've got nothing coming out anywhere here, so maybe that leopard is not that far from where we were. So while we do that, let's send you across to our one late incomer in the form of Steve, who I believe has gotten to Chitwa Dam.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tristan Dix, and we were up at the same time, and we have just had some technical issues that we have managed to finally sort out, and here we are at Chitwa Dam. What a terrible place to spend a few minutes waiting to sort out technical issues as we watch the sun rise above the horizon, the hippos and their morning chorus, and the birds doing their thing. What a beautiful morning it is in the Sabi Sands. We are down in Chitwa, as I said before, and we are going to maybe follow up on tracks of Tingana from last night. And my name is Steve Falconbridge, joined once again by Fergus on camera. We seem to be the dream team at the moment, so let's see what we can produce for you this morning. Please, as always, send through your questions and comments to hashtag Safari Live and follow us on YouTube stream and let us know what we can do for you this morning. So here we are at the dam. We're going to start moving on and see what evidence of last night is going to show itself for us on the ground. Jeffrey, no sign of wild dogs. I haven't heard of anything in my ear as well. They do move vast distances, but when they do come through, I know Tristan, Taylor and Brent seem to have their spies in all different places. That information gets communicated to them very quickly. I'm still trying to break that inner circle, it seems, of that sort of secretive information circle, and hopefully I'll be inaugurated into it soon. But at the moment, we are going to just go and find what we can through our blind luck and listening to the radio. as you normally do. Yes, the dam does look beautiful. It's just unfortunate that you weren't here 2 minutes before. Not that it was anyone else's fault, just mine and Ferg's here on the vehicle. But what a glorious way to start the morning. And that is an enormous crocodile, Ferg. Well, relatively. Largest one I've seen in Chitwa Dam, with some very brave water thickneys around. I wonder what's going through that thickneys mind on the left and on the right of the crocodile. Oh, hello. Oh, well, he's going, I'm going to move. There's something so prehistoric about a crocodile, and I've had many occasions, what you just saw there, where I was walking along a riverbank and a crocodile stood up just like that one did, and my entire body froze. Just everything inside of me just became petrified of whatever the crocodile was going to do, but all it did was turn and go back into the water. But instinctively, we just know these animals are archaic. They've been around for a very long time, and they have been responsible for many a human death. Beautiful. Look how that entire animal just disappears so easily under the water there. Perfectly designed for everything in its habitat. And terrifying, Nikki says. It's not, Sherry, it's not a log. Some people call it a flat dog, but it is a crocodile. But quickly, Ferg, here on the branch there, and you see that green-backed heron, busy doing some preening. Yeah, right there. That's beautiful. Beautiful green-backed heron this morning. Probably waking up. There we go, look. Oh, marvellous. Look at that stretch. Nice. There's the exit shot. Fantastic. And there the crocodile is. Ooh, hello. Here we've got a terrapin. Marvellous little action happening in the corner here. It's all happening. The thick knees with their really big eye gives you the indication that they are nocturnal. And if you pan a little bit left there, you'll see that darter walking on the bank there. There's Egyptian geese. Yeah, the dream team is start. Oh, great start. Oh, what's the darter doing? I've never seen one walking around on land. Wow, that looks like some dung. That is dung. But look at how agile they are with their beak. When they catch a fish, they're able to pick it up like that, move it around very, very fast, very fast. The fish don't fall. Imagine that, eh? Whoa! He's doing a little bit of coprophagy there. He's eating hippo dung or elephant dung. I'm not quite sure. And you see the very webbed feet back into the water. A little bit of a drink. You need a drink to swallow elephant dung, ladies and gentlemen. It is quite dry and coarse and gets stuck in the throat, so a nice gulp of water afterwards is exactly what's needed. Maybe two. There we go. And when you look at the darter, you can see how wet it looks. They don't have the same preen oil that all the other birds use, because the preen oil obviously makes them very buoyant. And the objective of them is to be quite streamlined and not buoyant, to go through the water, snaking through, looking for fish. Fantastic. Such a nice picture of the darter this morning. Melissa, I find a crocodile more terrifying than a hippo. A hippo just is misunderstood. And they will give you indication of what they're going to do. And if you do find a hippo out of water, you need to get out of the way. A crocodile, it's just the fact that they are submerged. They eat meat. They don't seem to show any animal behavior. They're just very instinctive. Many trackers that I've had in the past, it's the one animal that they won't go near because they say it's just very unpredictable. Whereas a hippo is predictable. You know what it's going to do. males in the water, they might behave in a certain way and move towards you. If they do that, you just move away. If you see them out of the water, then you just need to get some cover. But it's the camouflaged and stalking specialist of the crocodile that one day will catch you if you're not careful. Hippo you're at least going to see in the water. The crocodile you will not. This is the elusive Loch Ness monster, as Taylor McCurdy called it. Proud cat mama, crocodiles hunt through vibration and sight, and also they quite often will sit waiting with their mouth open. I've seen many times on a stream that's coming down. Ooh, is that a leopard? No, I just saw a leopard log. Apologies. I've seen them in a stream when a river's coming down a weir. The crocodile just sits there with its mouth open, knowing that a fish is going to come down, and as soon as something touches its mouth, the mouth just slams shut and catches those fish. So that would be completely by feel, not by sight. But then when they're swimming in the dam or in a river, they will quite often physically go and catch the fish. But I'm sure there's a lot of vibration that's being used there. They do have the ability to close their second eyelid so that their eyes are protected underwater. But remember that they can't swallow underwater because their gullet flap is closed. If they open the gullet flap underwater, they will drown. So for those of you, if you ever do happen to get caught by a crocodile and it grabs you on the leg, you need to shove your arm down its throat to open that gull, that pouch in the back of the neck. It will cause the crocodile to start to drown, and then it should let you go. Survival tip 101. Okay, so you get a new pair of shoes, Ferg says. After that, the one that the crocodile swallowed, and possibly the skin. Not that I believe in using crocodile skin for anything, but I feel that if you did happen to kill a crocodile that was trying to kill you, then I think you're justified to do what you want with it. Phil, crocodiles have been recorded 50 kilometers from a crocodile-infested river in swimming pools and puddles and dams. So 50 kilometers is quite a vast distance. It's about just over 20-odd miles. And I've seen tracks quite far from crocodile water. They instinctively know when dams or rivers are starting to dry up, and through their, I don't know how, their built-in sort of knowledge, they know where the next bit of water is. And it's quite something when you find crocodile tracks in the middle of nowhere, crossing a road or something like that, and you're thinking, how far away is the water? But they know that the water that they're in is going to a very uncomfortable level, so they'll move to something more permanent. So 50 kilometers, 20-odd, 25 miles is quite a distance, I think. Is that some white-faced whistling ducks all the way down there, Ferg, on the bank? I've never seen a darter fishing like a heron. This is bizarre. There's many things I'm seeing lately that I've never seen before. There he goes. Tail actually is used to help it to go up and down, almost like a submarine has got those flaps on the side or on the back to allow it to go up and down, and they propel. So stop at the long feathers enable the darter to sort of, and then their powerful webbed feet propel them through the water with quite remarkable speed. I couldn't tell you how fast, but let's see how how far it moves up. There it goes. We lost him, Ferg. He's up. He's being very tricky. Oh, there goes a giant kingfisher. Ferg, it's just landed. Okay, well, we're having a few gremlins down at Chitwa Dam. Let's go back over to Brent, who's back on the vehicle. Let's see what he has for you.
So we're just sitting and listening at the moment. Tristan's probably 800 meters behind us. And we've got good news. And the good news is that no tracks of Thandi leave a relatively small area. So between... Actually, I'll show you. Even better. I found my map after losing it yesterday. Okay. So, we are sitting currently at that junction there. And Tristan is there. And he started walking from there, and we've checked all the way along here. There's no tracks going out. We've just got this very tiny little piece to check here to make sure that she hasn't crossed there and gone into this very thick area up here. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to go very, very slowly because she might have just crossed over. So far we've just seen hyena tracks. Oh dear. Oh dear. It's hyena. Yeah. Next, can you say that again? Sorry, the game drive the radio decided to everyone talk at once. Now, unfortunately, Timothy, a female leopard would not adopt a cub if she found it. She would probably kill it, and if it is not hers. Now, the way most animals work, so sorry guys, I'm going to be looking very carefully at the ground here in case she just crossed straight across the road rather than walking down it. So, the thing is, Timothy, that almost all animals, lions, leopards, hyenas to a degree, if they, well, especially your solitary cats even more so, that if they were to find, oh, it jumped out of gear for some reason. If they were to find a female or a cub that's not related to them at all, they would kill it, because it is a, what was that ran across the road? Did you see that? Something very small, like a scrub hare, at high speed. But they need, they're programmed to get their genetics through. Okay, Trist's back on the car. He's calling me. Hang on. There's no tracks coming out to Cheetah Cut Line. I'm just checking very slowly down towards Quarry Pan from Cheetah Cut Line. So far, nothing coming out. Okay, so what is this? There's something moving in the grass here. There are some tracks there we want to check, but this is where that little thing that I thought might be a scrub hare dashed across the road. Oh, it wasn't. It was Franklin running across the road. It was just caught them out of the call. Oh, they're running. They're not being popular. They're not being very nice to us this morning. Just making sure there's still hyena tracks. So genetically, all animals want to get their genetics through. So if the cub is not theirs, even if it's their daughter's cub, they would kill it. It's unfortunate but true, but it's competition for their territory. That's how they are programmed. People often like to give human emotions and human ideals to wild animals, and at the end of the day, they don't have the same thought processes and stuff that we do, and they're programmed to mate, to procreate their genetics, and to defend their territory and to eat. And of course, there is playfulness and stuff like that, but it isn't the same cognition process that we have. Okay. We're going to meet up with Tristan somewhere around here. We're both checking this area very carefully. And we're quite positive now that we've narrowed down the area quite a lot. So in the meantime, let's go see Steve and a kingfisher.
Thank you very much. We found the kingfisher again. It flew off from its original perch and has come back again with a kill. Oh, swallow. There we go. How's that? That fish was a marvelous size. He beat it against the branch about 8 or 9 times and then swallowed it. I always find it amazing how the bird is able to hold a slimy, wet fish in its beak and turn it around and smash it without dropping it, and then turn it upside down, head first, straight into the tummy. Or into the crop, should I say. Here we go, the work's done for the day. Now I just need to digest that, bones, skin and all. Can you imagine that feeling of putting a live fish directly into your tummy and it's squirming around? I can't imagine what that must feel like. So, giant kingfisher, ladies and gentlemen, and I wonder how many of you avid birders out there can tell me. Quickly, comment hashtag Safari Live, tag me in there, please. Male or female? You have a 50-50% chance, and it's very easy to see. The brown chest versus a white chest. Here goes again. Boom, into the water. A little bit of a swim. He's going to land right back on the branch next to it. Left, folks. Down. There he is. A little bit of water to wash down the fish. Nice to drink tea or drink water when you have sushi. Keep the digestion working properly. Jasmine tea is my favorite with sushi. Ferg agrees with me. There, he's just dive bombed again. Ravinda and Justin, you had a 50% chance of getting it right, and unfortunately it is not a female, which means, ladies and gentlemen, it is a male, and that is easy to remember because the male has got a hairy chest. Think about the brown on the chest, hairy chest. The female does not have a hairy chest, so her chest is white. I hope that is easy enough for you to remember. Okay, so while I quickly find the picture on my app for you, just keep having a look at it. You can clearly see the brown. Justin, I have no idea what species of fish that was. Unfortunately, I wouldn't assume at all. Okay, here's the giant kingfisher, Ferg. Okay. There we go. Some nice drawings. There is the female. The black speckled breast and the rufous belly. When the male, hello, there's the male with the brown chest and the white underneath. Very, very easy to see. And we will play the call, yes, because it is a marvelous call. That sounds like a laughing person. Listen. Very comical. Very, very comical call. Thanks, Ferg. Okay. Fantastic. So, we're going to move on from Chitwa Dam and see if we can follow up on Tingana from last night. And let's go back to Tristan, who is back on the vehicle. Let's see if he's got any track updates. Well, the last tracks that we have seemingly go into
this mess that is the block between central Guaripan and Drakensberg. It is a horrible, horrible, horrible place, but we know that Thandi's used this a couple times now with the cub. She's spent some time in this area, and so it doesn't surprise me if she has turned in here that maybe, just maybe, this cub is still around and it is inside this block and she's come back this way. I can't find any tracks so far coming out, and the last tracks are just going into this area, and so maybe she's still here. Now what's this? No, nothing that is fresh there. I'm curious to know exactly where Taylor had the tracks yesterday, because it'll be interesting to maybe head straight to that area and see. You never know, maybe she came back to try and get the little one or something like that, and she's close to the road on this side. I think it was on this road that Taylor had them. I asked Rex and he said around this area, but I mean, he wasn't very descriptive. He kind of said Drakensberg, Central, Guaripan. Now, I'm not sure where that is next. So Nick's for saying that it was maybe in an area where she had an Impala killed. It's okay. I know Taylor's awake, so I'll send her a message just now and find out exactly where she had them, and we'll go and head in that direction. But you can see what we're dealing with. On the left-hand side is what's the area that she likes to spend time. So there's this drainage line that runs in there, and it is incredibly long grass, and I know this particular drainage line has probably frustrated Herbie and Scott more than anybody else, because during our TV shows in February, this is where they hung out for about 4 days, and to find them in here is really not easy. It takes intensive kind of tracking unless somebody alarm calls and gives them away. So I'm hoping that's what is going to happen, is that there's an alarm call or something like that that allows us to be able to find where this leopard is actually sitting, because we've now come quite far west again, considering where those tracks were. Those tracks kind of cut north much further to the east than where we are now. But I have followed Thandi from that point where I'm talking about to this point right here once before, so that's why I'm still not giving up just yet. There's a little crossing that goes through, and then it heads back towards the junction where we last had the tracks turning into the block. So you never know, maybe she does pop out the side and she heads towards Buffelshoek Dam or something like that. We're just going to go very slowly and just check very carefully. But Thandi is like this sometimes. She's clever in the way that she'll position herself and put herself into places where it's very difficult for anyone else to get to her, and that's what makes her, such a successful female. Song of Rain, I have heard of old leopards attacking humans many times. The most recent one was in the Kruger National Park. A old male leopard was actually attacked a vehicle, and then it got the guide by the arm and was busy trying to bite his arm off, and then actually another car drove over the leopard, which was pretty crazy. So Nikki, your uncle was there. That must have been quite hectic to have watched in real life, so not something you want to see at all, but it does happen. Old leopards, when they're sick and they're battling to find food, they can become a little bit dangerous, and they can become sort of because of their desperation, they try and do things that they normally wouldn't. So it does happen. I'm just trying to think when the last one was in the Sabi Sands. I can't even actually remember the last leopard attack in the Sabi Sands. A long time ago that there was an old leopard that attacked anybody. The last attack in the Sabi Sands was a female leopard in the west that bit somebody on the arm and gashed somebody on the arm, also in the vehicle. But she was defending her cub, so she wasn't a young female. She was just a female that was defending her little one, and that's kind of how that happened. Okay, well, no tracks coming out here, that is for sure. So that means that maybe we're going to have to do a little journey through the thickets to try and find out where exactly this leopard goes. But we'll go all the way to Buffelshoek Dam first. We're almost there, and then we'll come back around the top side, and while we do that, let's send you back across to Brent and see if he's had any luck on his side.
I haven't. So Tristan's just to the south of us. We've come up onto the northern boundary just in case anything comes here. Timothy, I apologize profusely. I wasn't thinking a bit earlier. Now, strange enough, there's one recorded case of leopard adoption. But it's a little bit more complicated than just finding a cub. And I will tell you the story right now. So I was actually there. And that's why I can't believe I forgot it. That's why I'm apologizing. So you can actually, I think if you search the Panthera, or if you search on Google Panthera, whatnot, leopard adoption, you'll even see my name at the bottom of the paper as one of the observers. So there was a female leopard called the 3-4 female at Londolozi, quite a famous leopard. She lived for a very long time, to 17 or 18 years old. And her daughter was called the Dudley Riverbank female. And Dudley Riverbank female had 2 young boys. At this stage, they're probably 4 months, maybe a little bit older. 4 months, 5 months old. And on the boundary of her mother and her territory, they were on a carcass, and all these leopards met. And at the end of that, the one male went with mom, and the one male went with gran. And she did try hiss and chase him off, till eventually she was like, oh goodness, this thing's not going away. So she just started treating it like her cub. So that is the only recorded case of adoption in leopard, and it happened in the Sabi Sands. And so down around the Sand River, someone's mosquito spray cap fell off. That's obviously just fallen off a game drive vehicle. People worried about mozzies. Now, you get different color variants of leopards all over the place. So socks, yes, there are recorded black leopards in South Africa. None ever recorded from this particular area. A black leopard is actually a recessive gene called melanism. And what that does is cause an overstimulation of the color hormone melanin, which creates this dark leopard. They still have spots, you just can't really see them. Now, so socks, yes, we do. Zululand, which is that way, about 500, 600 kilometers. I saw one when I was a kid crossing the road in front of us. Not too far from here, about 200 or 200 k's, maybe a bit less as the crow flies. In and around the town of Leidenburg, there's been some black leopards recorded there. So generally that recessive gene, socks, is what causes the black leopards. So a recessive gene is basically both mom and dad have to carry that recessive gene, and it's very, very rare. You also get a thing that people are calling these days a strawberry leopard, and that's a leucistic leopard, which is also a different recessive gene, and that's the opposite. It's a lack of the color hormone melanism that causes that coloration, and so the rosettes are not black at all, they're sort of pinky red. So yes, we do. They are very, very rare, however. Oh, hello, birdies. Let's see. There's some helmet shrikes hiding in that terminalia. Come on. And you can hear some wood hoopers cackling away as well. And there's a laughing dove. Oh, well spotted, VMP. Now, where did all those... I can see them fluttering about. What they're doing is, quite often they're hunting for spiders. There we go. There's one out in the open. Oh, it's such a beautiful bird in good light. You got him there. So when they're out in the open, they are such a beautiful bird in good light. Look at that. And you can see why they get the name helmet shrike. There's a little sort of crested helmet. You can see that big, bald patch of skin around the eye. Up, off he goes. Okay, so Tristan is actually just, not far from us. We're behind Buffelshoek Dam. He's at Buffelshoek Dam, and he's got something cute and fluffy.
We do indeed. We have a cute, fluffy waterbuck, which concerns me a little bit because it's all on its own. I don't see any sign of a mother or any other waterbuck anywhere in this general vicinity. So I don't know why we have a waterbuck on its own of that age. I wonder if mom maybe didn't get unfortunately taken. I want to just go forward a bit and just see if maybe the rest are here. I see the little waterbuck is running away now and trying to head out of here, but I don't see any signs of other waterbuck anywhere. It's run down into the drainage line itself, but I don't see anything other than that little baby, which is very, very odd. Waterbuck babies don't spend time on their own at all. They're normally within small groups, so I wonder if maybe, just maybe, its mom was not taken by something, which is a bit of a horrible thing to think about, actually. So we won't dwell on that for too long. It's going to have a tough time of surviving if it's on its own like that. It's going to be perfect prey for a number of different leopards. So you'll find things like Tingana, Thandi, Hosana, any of them would go after a waterbuck of that size. Even though it's not the tiniest of babies, it's still inexperienced and will be an individual that will probably get hunted. Now, we're at Buffelshoek Dam, which is, well, once again quiet for us. There's a few hippos that are bobbing about. As per normal in Buffelshoek, you see the hippo is kind of always just taking it easy in the left-hand side of this dam. Now, Bitcoin Ninja, no, you will not outrun a hippo on land. Even if you are Usain Bolt, you will struggle to outrun one of these guys on land. So they are incredibly fast. They'll do about 35 kilometers an hour on land, which is pretty quick. Now, I think Usain Bolt runs at like 38 or 37, but these guys can sustain it for that much longer. So you would have a situation where you'd be in a lot of trouble if you had to get chased by a hippo on land. You're not going to get pretty far at all. And so they are incredibly dangerous animals, these guys. The one nice thing about a hippo is that it can't climb a tree. So rather than trying to sprint away from it, a tree is your best friend. You find one and just climb up into it as quick as possible. They're also pretty much one-minded animals. Generally, if you've come across them and you are on a sort of walk or something and they are close to water, and their general kind of demeanor is to try to get to water more than anything else. And so they might charge at you, but often if you actually just get out of the way and you just jump off the path that they're running on, you'll get yourself into a situation where you're actually able to avoid being squashed, which is pretty crazy. They just run right past you. So I've seen it before where they kind of throw their toys out the cot and then they sort of charge at you and then they just keep running on the path towards the water. As long as you get out of their way, they actually don't attack you physically, which is pretty nice, because being attacked by one of these guys is almost certainly going to result in death. It's not something that you are going to be able to tangle with and survive. They have a serious amount of power in those jaws, massive teeth, and then just the sort of weight of them hitting you is also going to cause a lot of problems. So it's not an animal you want to kind of irritate or come across too quickly. Good, well, we'll see what else is around Buffelshoek Dam, see if there's anything of interest, and while we do that, let's send you back across to Steve, who I think is still at Chitwa Dam.
Yes, thanks very much. We have found ourselves a male redback shrike. And for those of you who were with us the other morning or afternoon, I can't remember, we had that juvenile. Oh, there we go. I just caught an insect. Look at that. They're regarded as an insect specialist in their non-breeding grounds, and this is their non-breeding grounds. They come down to southern and sort of central Africa during our winter times, and then they go as far up as Western Asia and Scandinavia for breeding purposes. And very easy to identify the male shrikes by that kind of Zorro mask, so to speak, and that very sharp hook on the beak. They're all quite characteristic in that. Shrikes. I can show you a picture shortly of all the families of shrikes that we get here, and how they all have a very similar sort of look to them. Seen the magpie shrike for many times, the southern white-crowned shrike, the redback, which is this one, of course, and there's another one, the common fiscal, which we don't get too often around here, and then Sousa's shrike, which I've never seen before. But they've all got a characteristic sort of black band across the eye. Obviously the magpie shrike is completely black, so they lack that they lack that. Yes, mask like Batman, Joe. Indeed, Batman or Zorro, whatever you want to use. Easy to remember. You can see that the tip of the beak has got that little hook on it. And these birds will be going through a complete molt, probably already, to basically like servicing of your car engine. Before you travel a large distance, you need to service all the parts and make sure everything's in good working order. These birds will make sure all their flight feathers are replaced and ready for the long journey north. And most of them will be departing very shortly. They don't last here much longer than April. I have seen a male before in as late as June, July, and when I looked closely at him, he had a very badly injured eye. So I'm assuming that because he wasn't able to build up condition, he didn't migrate. So you won't migrate if you're not able to build up the condition. And migrating birds, as I've mentioned before, are able to gorge on insects and fill themselves up and gain a huge amount of body mass, which is basically just fat stores or fuel for the long journey. Canine nutritionist shrikes eat, well, these shrikes are almost specifically insect specialists, but a lot of shrikes are regarded as being predatory, so they'll feed on insects, lizards, small snakes, even frogs if they can. The bigger ones are quite like the bush shrikes, the greater bush shrike, very, very good at killing snakes. And the reason why we call a lot of these shrikes butcher birds is because they are renowned for impaling their insects or their prey on thorns, even barbed wire in areas where there's agriculture. And there's two reasons for that. Firstly, they are a predatory bird, but they lack the talons that wahlbergs and tawny eagles and small raptors have, for example. So they need to hold the prey species on something quite sharp to hold it while they rip it off like a butcher would do the cutting. And the second reason is to advertise territory to other females to show what a good provider they might be. So depending on the species, they are often good at taking prey larger than themselves, so difficult to swallow in one whole go, like we saw that giant kingfisher moments before, swallowing that whole fish. The shrikes are not able to, except if the prey species is small, but they do catch much larger prey, and it's difficult to swallow it whole. So the butchers decide of it to rip them, to break them down into smaller parts. But how accommodating he's being, just sits in there. I'm sure in the next week or so, maybe 2 weeks, we will not see these birds. But we did get some late rain, so there's a bit of a bloom in the grass, and so the insects have come out again, so they won't leave until the food resource starts to sort of diminish, so to speak. Oh, Ray, how big is the shrike compared to robin? Size-wise, he's 18 centimeters, so he's very similar in size to the South African robins. The English robin is far smaller than that, but the English robin makes up for it in attitude. They are very, 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 very strong-willed birds. The European robin, if any of you have seen one before. So 18 centimeters is about this big. About this big, not very big. YouTube viewer, you asking a very interesting question. Any birds that will feed on wild honey? Well, actually there's a few species, let me show them to you here, which are called the honey guide. Not bunny, honey. Honey. Okay, let me show you. Where is it? Greater honey guide. Beautiful birds. I'll show you the bird family. All of these birds on the page here feed on honey, or should we say on the wax that the beehives produce. Now up in the top we've got the greater honey guide, then we've got the scaly-throated over here, lesser honey guide, the brown-backed I've never seen before, or the green-backed I've never seen before, but these three in the top are the most common, and they are also nest what should I say, brood parasites. They don't lay eggs in their own nest. They will seek out the nest of others. And this has got a very nice call, the great honeyguide. You hear that Victor call? That is a territorial call that it is doing. And essentially what the greater honeyguide does is it's actually got a symbiotic relationship with the honey badger and with people, with humans, where it attracts you and it makes you chase them, and they take you to a beehive where we will break open the beehive, or the honey badger will break open the beehive and then leave some honeycomb for them to feed on. So whether it's the honey or the wax primarily that they feed on, it's hard to say, but these birds have been known to go into churches and feed on the candle wax that is there on the altar. So that is fantastic. Thanks, Ferg. So there's a honeyguide, and they are brood parasites, which means they lay their egg in the nest of other birds who do all of the work for them. Very cheeky indeed. Okay, so we're going to continue on. We got some reports that Tingana was last seen around the other side of Chitwa Lodge, room 11. So we're going to see if we can find any tracks. But while we do that, let's go back over to Brent and see what he's doing.
Well, unfortunately, no sign of any tracks just yet. So VM and I are doing a bit of a boundary patrol. It sounds like Kukumuri has crossed back to the west. We did, right at the end of safari last night, find tracks of a young male leopard on the boundary here, crossing into Buffalo's Hook. One of the, we think it's one of the new boys that are about. So let's see if he comes back. Now, and David, you obviously haven't seen me in a wild dog sighting. Now, David, that's what gets my blood pumping the most. I love wild dogs. I haven't been lucky enough to see them since I've been back here. We don't see them often in Kenya, but wild dogs gets my blood pumping most. They're by far my most favorite animal and the most exciting to follow. Kalina, wild dogs wouldn't only kill cubs, I've seen them kill an adult female leopard as well. If there's an opportunity to get one up on one of the other large predators, all the different predators will take advantage. If a cheetah finds baby lions by themselves, they'll kill them. Leopard, vice versa, all the different predators, if finding the young of another predator, will kill them to remove a little bit of competition from their territory. The biggest killer of wild dogs is lions. Yes, I've unfortunately had to witness that as well. We were sitting with a pack of wild dogs and the Styx lionesses killed one of the puppies. Minjan! Hi! Hi! Bye! There's a very happy little boy on the back of that car saying, hi! He got so excited. Oh, shame. He was such a big smile. We chatted about that leopard adoption a little bit earlier, and Kate's now asked, has adoption across species ever occurred? Kate, yes and no, I suppose is the correct answer. There's been many records of lions adopting baby wildebeest, baby oryx, leopards adopting baby monkeys, but unfortunately what generally happens is that I think it's more a novelty for a little bit before crunch. But as a general rule, adoption across species does not occur in the wild. So it's again, I think it's when people try put a lot of a sort of human emotion and human behavior into wild animals, that it looks like it, and these people on the internet are very good at editing it to make it look like the lion saved the baby wildebeest, but as soon as the part of the lion crunching the baby wildebeest skull is normally cut out. Okay, we've got a nice raptor up on the top there. Oh, what have we got? Let us see who knows which one this is. Hashtag Safari Live if you know what bird that is. It's an easy one. Very, very pretty, sitting up high. We actually see this species of eagle sitting on this particular tree quite regularly. Nicola Austin, you are correct if you say what? I'm not going to give it away just yet. Nikki, yes, you are right. That was very close to me. Now, when you look at a lot of birds, you look for some very diagnostic features. So Tory, unfortunately, it's not a tawny eagle. You can see it's got a little crest that's sticking up. It's got a very straight tail. Yes, Ravinda, it is an African eagle, but I'm looking for which species of African eagle. Now, golden eagles do occur very, very rarely in Africa, but only in North Africa. So they don't occur down here. And golden eagles are much, much bigger than this little guy. This is one of the smaller eagles. Well, yes, well done, Chris Rogue and Joe. It is indeed a dark morph Wahlberg's eagle. Now you can see he's got a slightly sort of reddish head compared to the rest of his body. The diagnostic on the Wahlbergs is that little crest that sticks up. It is very, very distinctive. Let me just help VM here. There we go. How's that, VM? Where do you want it? See, there we go. There's one there. You can actually see the little slightly reddish. Let me just try to do that. I'm trying to. Sorry, the sun's quite bright here. There, is that okay? There we go. And you can see that little slightly reddish crest on him, and a very, very straight tail. Now, when they fly, they're often called. Sorry, I'm just going to move this quickly. They often look like a cross. It's one of the ways to identify them in flight. So there we go. If you have a look, you can see very, very straight like a cross. So there we go. So that's how you identify them in flight. Okay, let's keep moving. I just heard there's some lion tracks coming in. So I think I'm going to head in that area and go give them a hand. So I'm just listening to the radio here. Okay. I'm just going to be on the radio for a second. It sounds like the Inkahumas might have snuck across even after last night. Okay, well, I get into that area to see how STH4 Tingana is going.
Thanks, Brent. We have got a male Natal spurfowl surveying his territory from the top of a very big termite mound. Hasn't been calling, which I find quite surprising. Normally if they sit up like that, they do some form of vocalization. can hear the hippo in the background. We are at Chitwa Dam again. We've come around the other side. No sign of Tingana anywhere. The Franklins are very relaxed. The Impala on the other side are very relaxed. So we're going to change tact and maybe go up the dry riverbed behind us and see maybe if he's just lying up somewhere in the shade there, trying to ambush some unexpected Impala coming down from this side to drink. Fluffy birds that are unfit to migrate will most likely survive. Sometimes what actually happens is you get younger cuckoos. So cuckoos that, for example, brood parasites that fledge a little bit late. Maybe the breeding happened a little bit late. Ooh, I'm going to move forward. Can you get this, Ferg? You can hear them. I'm just going to let them do their thing. The green woodhoopers. The Shangaan name for them is Hlega Mafazi, which means cackling woman. I didn't make that up myself. You heard how they were cackling? Fantastic. So these are not migratory, these are whole nesting birds. They are cooperative breeders, the green woodhoopoo, and they live in, as I said, holes and trees. How's the ambient there, Nix? Can you hear them? So you're hearing allomimetic behavior there. They are a family unit, and the behavior and the calls that they're doing there is to strengthen the pair bonds or the family bond. And you probably saw it before when they were on the side of the tree, the way they were moving their body up and down in that display at the same time as the call. That is what they do. Lesratch 3 sounds like his ex, I believe. That is fantastic. So get back to the question about migratory birds. Sometimes cuckoos, for example, or brood parasites will fledge late because the breeding went on a bit late, and they might miss the boat, so to speak, with regards to going north. And they will stay. They will overwinter here. It's not common in many species, but there is still enough food around to support a wide variety of species down here. It's just the preferred food source might change. Cuckoos feed almost primarily on caterpillars, and they tend to disappear quite drastically during our winter months. But they'll have to make do with other insects. And it's the same with birds that don't have enough condition. They'll probably make it through to the next year, or they won't. It really depends. But even the survival rate of them going north and coming back again is very, very low. So, but interesting nonetheless. Okay, so let's move forward, shall we? Or are we going to go back? That's right. We're going to go back up the little drainage depression, or river drainage depression behind us, and see if Mr. Tingana is maybe lurking in the shadows. Sorry about that. Okay, well, while I navigate back to this river depression, let's go over to Tristan, who is busy driving.
Well, we are driving, Steve. We're having a quiet morning, to say the least. Very little happening on our side of the world. We're still trying our luck with Thandi's tracks. I have a feeling she's lying in this block, the block that we had earlier. just sleeping. She probably had a long walk last night, and so now it's time just to have a bit of a rest. So, I don't know, there's nothing crossing out of our area, but we can't find any further tracks other than those ones that go towards that little area. And given that she has spent a lot of time in that particular section in the past, it makes sense that she's there. So I just wanted to double check to the south and to Nyala Road South, because I know she walks around there as well. Just make 100% sure that she's not kind of, utilizing any of these roads and maybe moved more south than what we initially thought. But so far I can't find a single thing that suggests that she's moved out of that block. So I'm going to try and maybe head back there, and then we'll do a little walk into the block just now and see whether or not we get some semblance of luck. It would also be nice if we got anything really, because we've had very few birds, we've had no other animals. It's been deathly quiet on this eastern side this morning. Anna, no. So that Quatila male went west into Arathusa area. They saw him that night when he crossed, and then since then I don't think anyone has actually seen him, and no one's given us an update on tracks, although Brent said he did have young male leopard tracks crossing in from the gate side, heading in a sort of westy direction past Sydney's Dam. So maybe he crossed back north towards Manyaleti, which is where obviously he comes from, and then the other male went south towards Vessels, and then from Vessels I don't know where he went. He might have gone into Mala Mala, he might be still hanging around there. There's a very, very difficult drainage line to negotiate there that a lot of leopards used to go into, and make it quite tough to actually figure out where they are. So it's a bit difficult at the moment to know where they are, but I'm sure they'll be around. Once they've been seen once, very seldom they don't come back unless they get chased by somebody, and we know so far no one's really been chasing anyone as yet. Good, well, let's carry on. Let's see, maybe we'll get some luck and some sort of break in our sort of quietness. But while we do that, let's send you to Steve, who I believe has got some birds that are grooming some animals.
Yes, thank you very much. We have found an Impala who's getting a proper servicing. Busy macerating and chewing the cud, and had at least 4 oxpeckers all over the place. You can see these are the red-billed oxpeckers with their zygodactyl feet, which means they've got 2 forward and 2 back on the toes, which enables them to hold on to the fur of the Impala very, very easily. And see how they comb through the fur there looking for ticks. And apparently feed on 1,500 nymphs in one day, or 500 engorged ticks. That is an enormous amount of ticks. And it's a very important time for a male Impala like this, as he's coming into the rut. He's on his own. There's a herd behind there, but he seems to be on his own. He's building up condition. If we pan out just a touch there, Ferg, you'll notice that on his horns there's some mud. So he's starting to get quite active in his sort of display and his fighting, and he's thrashing all sorts of things to build up the neck muscles. And a squirrel on the termite mound. It's all happening today. The squirrel surveys his territory. And so the Impala, it's very important for him, because as they start getting into the rut, they start losing condition, because all they're doing is focusing on mating and breeding, and they actually almost forget to eat. They don't do any more allo grooming with other males, because they can't stand being near another male without fighting. So that area, especially around the neck and head region, it's very important for the ticks to be removed from there, because he's not going to get assistance from another Impala for some months now. They constantly want to box each other, so having the oxpeckers on him is important for him to maintain quite a strong sort of outward appearance and strength. It's quite interesting that as soon as an animal loses condition, the tick loads go up. Can you say that again, please, Nick? Sorry. Siberia Zumi, you want to know if the oxpeckers are the only ones that will feed off of the parasites? As far as I know, it's the only bird that I know that actually combs. The red-billed and the yellow-billed oxpeckers, the only birds I know of that feed off of ticks, off of live animals. But that's not to say that something won't feed on the ticks that are in the grass, the eggs that hatch, and then the larvae or the nymphs waiting on the grasses to come and feed on them themselves. So I'm sure other things will feed on them. But off of the animal itself, only the oxpeckers that I know of. What a marvelous specimen. He's just sitting, staring at us. Sorry, Nick, I just got Ryan something about do animals get something that we do. I didn't get the actual... Do they get disease like we do? Different diseases, Ryan. There's lots of different diseases that are transferred to animals out here, such as heart water, red water, Bont disease. There's a number of diseases that most indigenous animals are semi-immune to, will affect them in poor condition. The biggest issue we have with the diseases in South Africa or Southern Africa is how they affect livestock. Livestock that have been brought in from Europe, so sheep, goats, and very, very importantly, cattle. So they really, really struggle with the diseases locally. But the diseases are meant to curb numbers, and the strong will survive, and most indigenous animals here have a sense of immunity to it. So let's go over to Tristan with another indigenous mammal.
Today is not going well at all. So we did have some warthogs, but they have decided just to walk away. It seems like everything just feels like walking away as you guys are supposed to come and see it. So we'll try and see if we can get them. It's a female warthog with the largest set of tusks that I've ever seen on a female warthog in this area. She's got monstrous tusks. I'm pretty sure it's the same one that James has seen a few times. There she is. So you can see she's got a huge set of tusks coming off of that face. Look at the size of those. Aren't those amazing? And you can see she's a female because there's, well, no testes underneath that tail, and warthogs, generally, their testes stick out quite nicely to be able to see if they're male or female. But she's seriously got one of the biggest sets of warthog tusks out of any female that I've seen in the Sabi Sands. She's an incredibly big individual, and you can see they relatively relax as well. They they're trotting off and moving away from us, but at least it's not at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and we at least get a glimpse of them as their little tails go up and they bound away. The one with the big tusks is the most relaxed of all of them, and then you can see some of the other ones following. There's a little boy that's following. You can see the difference on his rear end, that his testes are quite visible in comparison to the female who had none. They do look like they are stuck on, you're right. It looks like somebody has just said, well, you'll have some, and just pop. It's like a piñata. What's it when you stick things on? I can't even remember. Pin the donkey, that's it, not a piñata. If it's a piñata, that poor warthog would be very upset if you were beating it with a bat. That wouldn't be ideal. So pin the tail on the donkey is what we actually go. Exactly. Put the testes on the warthog. Can be a new game that we can develop. Anyway, that's at least a bit of a laugh for the morning. This ridiculous conversation that we've gotten ourselves into here. So let's move along quite swiftly. Anyway, our warthogs have disappeared as well, so that gives me a good excuse to change the subject and carry on and keep going. Exactly. So Nikki says she's searching for a question in order to be able to change the subject. So sorry, Nix, you broke up a little bit there. Just can you go again? I just heard, are the horns designed for, but I didn't get exactly what they should be designed for. Okay, so Carol, a different question to that one, is does tusk size denote the age of the warthog? No, not necessarily. Obviously you can use it in aging warthogs, but remember, it's like anything else out here, there's genetics involved as well, and so some will just simply have bigger tusks and bigger horns, and if you look at any of the animals, things like elephants, some just genetically have that gene that allows for more growth. Also, it depends on environmental conditions, where they are in the world. Some warthogs get bigger tusks, or in the elephants particularly, if they're in grassland areas, you find a lot of them get massive tusks, whereas opposed to our guys that are often breaking their tusks by trying to dig up roots and bark and those kind of things. It's not to say we don't get big tusks here, we do. It's just that you get that situation. Now we're back where we kind of started. You can actually see where Thandi walked along the road here this morning sometime. It's quite clear now that it's a little bit more light on the road. So these are the ones that we were following early this morning. Very clear in the tracks of the tires from last night. So just going in the direction that we've been heading. So I think she's somewhere in here. Just got to try and kind of work it out exactly where, but I'm pretty sure this drainage that you see, so this is the drainage where we last saw her in Talamba, and then you come up this drainage like this, and then it cuts in a sort of easterly direction, and she's quite far east, and I think inside this drainage. So what I want to do is go back to the last track and then just walk in as far as I can and just try and see if I can get to that drainage and have a little look. There's a few sandy sections in the drainage that maybe we can pick up a footprint, and that'll help us with being able to work out where she's gone and whether or not she's actually still in sight. I'm pretty sure she's just lying down. I don't think she would have gone far. Alright, let's get up and over the bump. There we go. But it's interesting. It's amazing, a bit of a different sort of environment or thing to last week, where we had elephants everywhere, and now we've got very few. Oh, Sam. Yes, once. So Sam, my Land Rover, is once taken to the sky with all four wheels off the ground, which was, yes, not a good thing at all. It almost resulted in my imminent death. So what happened was, it's quite a funny story actually. It was actually on Chitwa, so it was on Chitwa airstrip, and there was an old vehicle at Chitwa, a really old vehicle that was a Land Rover, and I never used to drive it, but the one day we had a combined drink stop with all the guides and guests, and one of the guys had brought this car there just to help with unloading all the things, and a guest asked if they could please if I could please go back for them and just go and fetch a jersey for them while they enjoyed their drinks, and I said sure, no problem, I'll go do it. And so I jumped in the car, completely forgetting which car I was in, thinking I was still in my normal game viewer, and proceeded to bomb it down the Chitwa airstrip, as one would do, given that Chitwa airstrip is so nice and smooth, and I wanted to get there and back before, the guests finished drinks and wanted to carry on their safari. So I was going a little quicker than I should be, granted. Anyway, I completely forgot that this old vehicle had zero brakes, nothing, not one even ounce of braking power at all. The only way that you could brake was by using the gears, and I completely forgot. So anyway, we went going, and we got to the end of the runway, and obviously I pressed the brakes and realized very quickly that this is a massive problem. And so I tried to gear down, but before I could gear down, we hit this mitre drain that's right at the end of the runway, and ended up hitting that and ramping and going all four kind of tires into the air and then landing and then kind of swerving a little bit. And how we didn't kill ourselves, I had my tracker with me, how we didn't kill ourselves I have absolutely no idea. We ended up kind of somehow missing two trees on either side of us, going straight through the bush and then coming to a standstill next to a termite mound. It was quite funny in the end, but not so funny at the time. I thought we might be dead, because obviously if you roll one of these or you kind of get thrown out, you're not going to be in a good way at all. So not an ideal situation, and it was a note to self to remember that don't go fast unless you've checked brakes, and that brakes are rather important in life. Oopsie. Yeah, it was quite funny. I mean, like I said, looking back on it now, my poor tracker, he just had this nervous giggle while by the time we finished. You could tell he was just laughing because it was over, but he was actually absolutely petrified. And I think at one point he was whiter than what I was. So it was pretty funny, and we laughed about it. And luckily, nobody else saw it, because otherwise the guests might have thought we were about to die, and there would have been massive panic, and they probably wouldn't have wanted to get on a vehicle with me again after watching that whole thing unfold. But we survived. It's all good now, and so everything is fine. Right. So I'm going to kind of get off and try and see if I can find these tracks now, or try find this individual in this block. And while we do that, let's send you back across to Brent, who's on Triple M, and hopefully he won't be getting airborne on all of those bumps.
Well, it'll be very difficult to get airborne at tracking speed, but I've been airborne a few times. I was not airborne, however, when I lost a guest off the vehicle. That was because he wasn't listening. We were flying after wild dogs in Botswana, and while you're concentrating on going forward, you can't really check behind you. And he was on the back right, and he stood up, and we jumped over a leadwood stump, and he went whoop. Luckily, he landed in some soft sand, and we actually, because we spent so much time with wild dogs in Botswana in some very fast chases across those plains where there's lots of spring hair holes and the odd stump and whatnot, we installed seatbelts on our game drive vehicles, and people did not have to wear them till we started chasing wild dogs, because when you don't, and it's only when people don't listen that it's a problem. Oh, hang on, I'm just going to let this car go past me. Yeah, just hyena tracks so far. Yeah, so, yeah, that was it. We just made sure from then on that, and even our tracker seat, when we were following dogs, there was a seat belt. Minjan, uvukile mfo. Okay, let's keep going. Oh dear. There you go. So yeah, so we seatbelts, and or if you were, sometimes with dogs, we'd actually take tracker off, put him inside. I did that often here in the Sabi Sands and stuff as well. Just lots of hyena tracks. I might make a little pass at the carcass, see what's happening with that eddy. Pretty empty by now. There's still the odd hyena hanging around there. So we're going to keep checking carefully along here while we do that. Let's go see what Mr. Falcon's Bridge is up to on Chitwa.
We are trying not to get lost. We are driving in a big circle, seeing if we can find anything. And we don't want to go too far, because we can't go too far east into Cheetah Plains, and I think we might have gone one road too far. So now we need to just go a little bit back, and then back in again, back into Chitwa. We didn't find anything in the way of tracks along our intended route before. And just to add to everyone, I have never gotten a Land Rover airborne. Never in my life that I can remember. A few bumps, indeed. Guests will often bump a little bit, but I wouldn't ever say they've been too airborne. Definitely never lost anyone off the back. Not sure how long you would remain a guide in the industry if you lost a guest off the back of the vehicle. It can be done if you drive too fast, especially with the long wheelbase Land Cruisers, because they've got this really big sort of bumpity bump. Oh, it's a marvelous. No, a bit too far off. Stanley Times become a bushwalk after falling off the back. If you don't break your coccyx. That is the biggest issue. Falling out the back. Yeah, it hurt. It's a lot. So we are back into Chitwa now. It's very quiet this morning, but it's wonderful. We've been seeing some fantastic birding. And who knows what we might just come across. It is very quiet on the elephant. There's plenty of food for them. They seem to have moved. I mean, we had many elephants in the previous weeks. Okay. Cobalt will be on my car. You're welcome any day, sir. So we're having a few gremlins. We're going to stay stationed for a moment, but while we do so, let's go over to Brent and see what stories he is going to tell.
Well, we're still heading now. We're off Triple M and we're going down Gowrie Main towards the elephant carcass. Seems like those lion tracks that we called a little bit earlier were a bit old. So we're just double checking the boundaries. Liam and I will have done almost, we would have by the time we get to elephant carcass, a full boundary patrol of Djuma. Now we've had some good boundary patrols, Liam and I. It used to be a thing every now and then we'd say, okay, we're going to drive the boundaries of our whole traverse. And I think we only managed to finish it completely once. Because I think the one boundary patrol we found lion, leopard, elephant, buffalo and rhino. But we saw a full big five on a boundary patrol. The other boundary patrol we nearly got through, but then we found in Kanyeni down on Cheetah Plains. What's the time, BM? Do you think we got a time for a full boundary patrol today? Ooh, maybe. Leslie, Djuma is 1,200 hectares, which is just about 5,000 acres. Chitwa, I'm not sure the exact size of Chitwa. I'll have to ask my brother. But I'd say in total probably close on 7,000 or 8,000 acres that we traverse. Hang on, guys, what is that? That is a lion track. Is it an old lion track? Is it a new lion track? Now, Katie, certain animals do return to Djuma for winter, but very few. Normally, the biggest returnee for the winter is zebras. Not fresh. So the biggest returnee is zebras. They come back from the Gabbro grasslands to the north and to the east of us, from the Kruger, from the Manyeretti, and so you'll notice at this time of the year, zebra is harder to find than lion or leopard. I've seen no zebra since I've been back. Vim, have you seen a zebra? Nothing. So zebra at this time of the year is quite hard to find. They'll move back. The wildebeest herds as well. So at the moment we've got the males and they stay around all year, but the herds will move back as well. So those are the two sort of returning species. Okay, well we're going to shoot towards the elephant carcass. While we do that, let's go back to Steve, who seems to have beaten off his gremlins. Morning!
Yes, I am beating them off with a big stick. Not really, they just come and go. If I could see them, I'd probably beat them, but we can't see them. It's also just the area we're going through is very dense vegetation-wise. We can't see many animals, so it's possible that is affecting the signal as well. So definitely when the winter starts approaching and the leaves start falling off the trees, it starts drying out, it becomes a lot easier to find game. At the moment they are very, very hard to see in this very dense vegetation around Chitwa. Mahutia, we don't show rhinos on view. I have seen them, I think, 3 or 4 times. 4 times since I've been here, and 2 of those times were on foot, which was fantastic. Actually, the first time was very close encounter, probably about 15 meters away, and then the second time was obviously with Dave, because everything seems to charge Dave, and we got charged by one, and it stopped about 2 meters from us. We quickly darted behind a fallen log, and it ran off to the side. Fantastic. Got the heart pumping, the blood moving through, the adrenaline coursing through the veins, but it was all very relaxed. Apart from us being charged, that is. Okay, so there we go, Ferg. There's a wonderful community nest. Beautiful nest indeed. If those of you who do not like spiders, look away right now. Beautiful big nest, or community web spiders. There's many of them in there, and they accumulate together their silk to produce a web far greater than that they could produce themselves, which enables them to catch prey of a much larger sort of size. And this is a very nice specimen, quite high up in a silver cluster leaf, with their boat-shaped pods. Can't see any. I was with Senzo about 2 months ago, and we got a web, one of these webs, and all of the spiders were out busy feeding on what seemed to be a damselfly, and it was quite something to behold, because in all my experience I've never really seen the spiders actually actively moving around and doing their thing. It also provides quite a nice little habitat for them. Gary, I hope you're happy. We're looking for some small creatures here. I can't see any there, but they are inside. And what I have been told, and yet I have yet to try, I need to get a tuning fork, one of those little things that you use for tuning the piano or a guitar, where you just hit it and it vibrates. Apparently, if you have one of those next to one of these nests and you clank it, all the spiders come running out. It's definitely a nightmare for anyone with arachnophobia. For a piano tuner, hey Ferg, yeah. What a nest. The Yvette spiders are very cool. And what's so interesting about spiders is also that they produce more than, I think, 3, maybe 4 types of silk. Depends on what they want it for, what's it used for. Some of it is for web building, some of it's for the sort of strengthening sort of parts of the web, some of it's for sort of the more delicate sort of streams. Some spiders will put out a little sort of soft, delicate web into the wind, and the wind will pick it up, and they'll go off in something known as ballooning. They go flying far away and land somewhere new. Also, sometimes they'll put that strand out and play it into the wind, and that's how some spiders can make these massive nests or webs across trees that are quite some distance away. And then also a different type of silk that they use when they're wrapping prey that they might catch in the web itself. So they really are quite incredible creatures. And the web itself is protein based. So some spiders, namely the bark spider, which comes out at night, will produce webs between trees, and then as the morning approaches will actually gobble up the entire web back inside of itself, recycling that protein, because they've learned through many generations that large animals walk during the day and will damage that web, and rather ingest it than get it lost on the neck of a giraffe. I don't know, Mandini, if they're water soluble. They are protein based, so I suppose they would break down eventually, but whether they're soluble, I don't know. They've done some tests on how strong spider webs are, and for the size and the structure, it is the strongest material known to man, I believe. So quite incredible how an organism can create that out of its bottom. It comes out of things known as spinnerets, different proteins mixed together in those different strengthening sort of agents. Left or right, Fergs? Ferg said right. We're going to go right. Joy, you want to know how well I know if that nest is still functioning? You know, when it's dirty like that, it just, I don't know, it just looks functioning. I suppose after a period of time, as Mandini just asked, is it soluble? It will probably break down. So they need to keep sort of adding to it. And then there's little holes inside. But then I don't know. It's a very good question. I think I need my tuning fork, and every single one of them I'm going to go past. I'm going to ding and see them come out. So I'm not sure. Okay, so let's go to Brent, who's managed to find himself a very spotted scavenger.
Well, at the moment, around the carcass, you must just look in every little bit of water hole, because they've got such fat bellies, and hyenas do love a good swim. And right hidden in the reeds, we just heard, which was the hyena drinking. Yes, you, silly one. Look at them, silly thing. Well, let's go have a look closer at what's left of the carcass. There are some leopard tracks around here, but from last night they've been driven over. It looks like Tingana might have made another swing past here during the night. Now, we are heading into the dry season. We might get a little bit more rain, but probably very little. And certain of them do dry up, Jared's buddy. The bigger ones like Treehouse, Twin Dams and Buffalo's Hook, unless it is very, very dry, they normally hold water throughout the dry season. But the smaller pans, Cheddar Pan and the small little pans will all dry up. Okay, it doesn't even look like there's a hyena here at the moment. So I'm pretty sure the hyenas that were there before drive are the ones that are sleeping all around here. There's one hooded vulture flying off. I mean, it's incredible. Now, of course, the tusks have been removed by the Sabi sands now. I mean, there's still a little bit left here. Okay, let's go have a look. Just want to have a quick look to see. And then there's almost nothing here. Let me think how I'm going to do this. Oh dear me. Absolutely incredible. Now, the thing is that even though there's no skin or meat left, the smell here is quite foul. The brain is still busy decomposing inside, and there's a whole bunch of insects that'll be in there, eating carrion beetles and things like that. Let's keep having a look around. So this is pretty much all the hyenas are chewing on. This piece here that's still rotting quite a bit, the skin. Now, you've got all this that looks almost like, I don't want to pick it up, it's quite smelly. It looks almost like a cloth. There's actually the thin skin from the elephant's ears that's dried out a bit, but it looks almost like a cloth. There's quite a few pieces of it all around. Now, I'm just going to have a quick look if I've got anything that can help me here. I have to make a plan. Let's think. Yeah, so I want to, but I don't want to pick it up. I don't feel like having smelly hands. Do we have anything in the car? Yeah, maybe in your box. Pair of pliers? Pair of pliers?
Okay.
Do we have pliers? I don't really want to get the smelliness on my hands. And as you can see, I'm not very queasy when it comes to picking up fresh carcasses. But and there's still quite a long way left to drive. So I don't want to... No pliers? Toilet paper. Okay, that'll have to do. Thank you, Vim. Now, the cam ops always have toilet paper in their tech box in case we get rain or drizzle to help wipe the lens and soak up stuff. Okay, I mean, look at that. Now, isn't that incredible? And you can see how thick it is. Now, the hyenas would have chewed all the cartilage that would have acted as the shock absorber inside the foot. Amazing. Now, let's just try, now that we have this with us, to show you how thin. Ooh-wee! The skin is from the ears. So, look at that. That's on the inside. Obviously, that's the side that's been torn off. Wow. It's very smelly, though. Okay, well, nothing else here. Here, Vim, you can have your toilet paper back. Here, Vim. Are you sure you don't want this particular piece? No, I'm joking, Vim. We'll throw that one away. Put it there for now. Okay. Not much happening around here. As I say, all the hyenas will be sleeping in water, generally, if they've got nice big bellies. Now, the thing that you most often find fossilized from elephants, Romit, is actually the tusks and the teeth. So they decay the slowest and the least out of all the different parts of the elephant. So that's impressive. How the hyenas got that this far away, huh? It's a scapula, a shoulder blade that the hyenas have managed to drag, and that's heavy, yeah? And they've managed to drag it off this far to feed on. Now, as it decomposes more, and we're able to fiddle with the bones a bit more, actually all must just bring gloves on drive, we'll be able to show you quite a lot more. And unfortunately this morning I just don't have the right kit to dig into that carcass any more than I did. But maybe I'll bring some gloves on my next drive and we can go through it properly.